Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Showing Up to Your Life podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Art Burns, and boy, am I showing up today. And that is to say that I wouldn't call myself very excited today about the podcast. I mean, I'm excited about the podcast. I am. I always love doing this podcast, even when I feel like pressured about it. And then sometimes I do. There are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to cover this topic today, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to say. You know, every single time, 100% of the time, like as soon as I'm like a minute in or less, like 50 seconds now, I feel much better. And it's like, so the excitement, and I've told you that before, that, excitement is a physical response, right? It's a nervous system response. And excitement is the same thing as stress, just without the emotional fear that's involved. Right. And so excitement is something that comes from showing up. Right. And showing up is something that allows for excitement. Right. So it's the showing up part that matters. Right. And so let me tell you a little story about this and where I'm at today. So for whatever reason, now, of course, I have, my 2 days off now are, Mondays and Tuesdays. So today on Wednesday is technically my Monday. Right. And so as I am, so on my weekends, I tend to, maybe stay up a little late and watch a couple of movies because I don't ever get the chance to do that these days. Now that I have these 2 days off, I don't have to get up in the morning. So yeah, let's do that, check out some Netflix that I've missed out on for so long. And so I don't even remember what movie I was watching last night, but I was watching something. And you know what? It wasn't even actually last night. It wasn't. It was the night before and the night before that, right? That I stayed up, I think on Tuesday night. No, last night was Tuesday. So on Monday night, which would have been my Saturday, right? I stayed up probably till like, I don't know, almost 3 o'clock in the morning watching movies, and not good movies either. So I really didn't feel very rewarded by that. But of course, now what happens is, the next morning I don't have any work, right? And actually the next morning my wife is home in the morning, right? Before she has to go into work at like 1 o'clock or something like that. So that I get to sleep in, right? And so I didn't wake up until like almost 10 o'clock yesterday morning, and it felt great, right? But guess what happened last night? I'm sitting there at like 12:30 with my eyes just wide open, and I just could not fall asleep for anything, right? And look, I mean, I have all the techniques and all the tricks, and I used them all, but it just, it just wasn't happening. And that's how it goes sometimes, right? Sometimes our body is just in a state where it just doesn't, it's not going to accept the sleep in that moment, right? And so what wound up happening is I was up until, I don't know, 2:30, something like that, and maybe 3 again. I don't even remember what time it was that I finally fell asleep. But the alarm clock went off at 7:30 in the morning. I can tell you that for sure. There's no question about that. I even have a record of it on my phone here that it did go off at 7:30 as it was supposed to. So leaving me with about like 4.5, 5 hours of sleep last night. And so today, you can bet that Art is a tired dude, right? I am, living by the caffeine here, try to just keep myself operable and just keep myself operating, right? And of course, my kids are still here and the whole thing, and so that's the thing, right? Life, for better or worse, I guess we could say, life doesn't accept from us that, hey, everybody, I'm not feeling 100% today, so can we all just pause for the day? Do you mind? Would that be okay, life? Yeah, no, okay, no, that's not going to happen, right? It never happens, right? Now, of course, sometimes we have more control than others, right? So like on, Sunday night, or Monday night going into Tuesday morning, I knew I didn't have to get up. So it's okay to stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning, watching some, movies on Netflix that afterward I'm like, why did I even do that? But the point is, though, that I can recover in the morning. Right. And that's an important thing. So then I can get my, generally speaking, my ideal amount of sleep is about 7 hours. And I found through a lot of trial and error and self-examination that if I am, if I sleep less than 7 hours, I start, feeling depleted. If I and I can't really sleep more than 7 hours, no matter what time I go to sleep, and no matter what's going on in my life. Generally speaking, if I don't set an alarm, 7 hours later is when I wake up, right? So that's my body telling me that that's the amount of sleep that I need, right? And again, I've done this under controlled circumstances and determined that that's the reality. 7 hours is about my magic number, right? And now, to be sure, 20 years ago, I could go 4 or 5 days in a row with like 3 hours sleep. Don't worry about it. Just muscle through it. Just keep plowing on through, right? But 20 years later, I'm 52 years old and my body needs the sleep. And without the proper sleep, I'm really not feeling 100%. Now, here's the thing, though, right? Now, I have a choice, right? I have a choice in this moment. I have a choice to say I can either, I can just accept the fact that I'm tired. And I can, let me give you the other choice first, because this is the more easy one, right? Remember what I said, that we have this sense that we say like, hey, world, I'm having a bad day today. Can we just, everybody stop for a moment? Can the whole world just accommodate me today, right? But of course it doesn't, right? Life just keeps showing up, right? And so what happens sometimes, and what used to happen to me quite often in this kind of situation, is that I would start getting resentful, right? I would start being like upset at the fact that, that I'm so tired, like almost like it's not fair. I feel like a victim here, right? Even though it was my own darn fault for staying up 2 nights ago. I forget about that, right? And this is, darn it, why is the world doing this to me? It's not fair, right? Well, guess what? In that moment, if I allow myself to get into that aversion, right? That feeling of, no, this is not fair. This is not right. I don't want this today, right? What's happening there, right? What's happening is that I am suffering, right? Not you are suffering, not the world suffering, not, it's me who's suffering by saying that this is not fair. I don't want this to happen. This has to be different today, right? I am going to suffer then. And of course, then the rest of the people who have to deal with me today are going to suffer too, because I'm going to be just an absolute jerk, right? Because I'm so pissed off at the world because I didn't get enough sleep last night, right? And so what does that lead to, right? That leads to, of course, my own discomfort, your discomfort, whoever it is that has to deal with me, right? But it can also deal with, ruptured relationships, right? Maybe I snapped at somebody, maybe I snapped at one of my children. Maybe I snapped at my wife, or maybe somebody I'm working with. Maybe I was short with somebody. Maybe I decided not to, make a call that I really needed to make, whatever it is, right? By my, aversion and getting all caught up in the aversion, right? Who knows what happens to other, who knows what I say, what I do, right? Because again, remember that anger is that way, right? When I feel angry that I haven't had the sleep, then that anger is going to make it seem okay that I'm snapping at somebody, right? It seems like justified to me that I'm snapping at somebody. But to that person, all they're seeing, they're not inside my body. They don't know how I'm tired today. They don't know that I was up all night. Even my kids don't know that, right? And so there's right? Like how are they supposed to perceive my shortness with them, my abruptness with them, maybe my even meanness with them, which would have happened many years ago. It doesn't happen now. But the point is that those ruptured relationships, right, be it with my family, my colleagues, my, whoever, right, in that moment, because I'm feeling so victimized, I am not even likely to notice that I've ruptured the relationship. I am likely to not even see it. And so in that place, because I don't see the rupture of the relationship, I don't take any measure to repair the rupture of the relationship. And that's a topic we're going to get into in a few days because it's very, very important, right? Because nobody's perfect, right? We all have off times and we all have off days and we all have sleepless nights, right? And so we will wind up rupturing relationships here and there, right? So that's why the important thing is to repair that relationship, because if you don't repair that relationship, then the rupture just stays there. And it's just a gulf that's growing between you and that other person. And this can absolutely happen with your children, right? For all you parents out there. I mean, I'll tell you what, my relationship with my father and my mother were both ruptured at, maybe 5 years old was when the first rupture happened. And you know what? It never got healed. And the rupture just kept widening and widening and widening and widening to the point where it's like we're not even relating anymore, right? Truly, like we're not even in each other's lives. Some might call that sad. I'm sure, yeah, I mean, it is. But that's the point, right? And so so what's the alternative to all this, right? The alternative is that I can now make the intentional decision to accept that I am hurt, or that I'm I don't have a lot of sleep, right? I can intentionally accept that, let go of the expectations that I had for what was going to happen today, what's supposed to happen today, and just acknowledge, like, look, all bets are off now, right? Everything that I planned to do was planned based on having a full night's sleep, to be my natural, like the guy that I am, And the thing is that we're not talking about just like 20 minutes less sleep last night. We're talking about like 2-3 hours less. It's almost like half, right? That's a huge cut in the sleep. So I need to acknowledge that. I need to accept that. I need to honor that. And if I can do that, if I can honor the fact that, yeah, this was really this is a hard day for me, right? If I can honor that, well, then I can proceed from that place, right? And what I mean by that, but what I mean by proceeding from that place is that I can, remind myself, right? When I start to feel tense, like, here I am, I had a meeting this morning, and then I had an unexpected meeting come up, which, sometimes, I have. You should know this, right? That sometimes when my clients, are having a hard time, sometimes they ask me, hey, can we hop on a call real quick? Because I'm really struggling with something right now. And if I can, I always do, right? And so I did this morning. So all of a sudden my timing was, I had a appointment this morning that actually got pushed back by an hour, which is totally fine. And then I had this other one. So now my podcast, we're at 2:38 in the afternoon. Normally I record this in the morning. It's already out of my way. It's already out of the day, right? And I would have recorded it right after that other call, but there's my kids saying, hey, Dad, can we go get, they like these little iced tea things that they get at this special place where they put these little, they're called boba tea, which I don't know if you've heard of it. They love it. It's delicious to them, I guess. I don't get it, but they do. And there they are, and now, again, the first scenario would have been like, no, kids, no boba tea today. Daddy's too busy. Rawr, get out of here. Start chasing them with a mop handle, wrapping the mop handle against the desk to get them to get out of here, right? Like a cane, right? And so what does that do, right? That, again, that leads to a rupture of the relationship, and not, it's not going anywhere good, right? It's not going anywhere that I want it to be. Like that's not who I am, right? That's not my authentic, father, right? That's not who I am as an authentic father, I should say, right? And so from that place, now we're dealing with damage. And as we're dealing with damage, now we have to, we have to cope with that. We have to, process it and work through it, right? And so if I accept, right, that like, early this morning, I accepted that, look, today's just going to be that kind of day. It's just going to be hard. It's likely to be much harder than any other day, right? And if I can acknowledge that, and if I can move through the day with that sort of, awareness, well, then it becomes much easier for me to accept the fact that, hey, look, we said this morning, everything's going to be off today. So guess what? You're going to record your podcast at 2:30 in the afternoon, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I mean, I could wring my hands, I could stomp my feet, I could scream, I could shout, I could bang on the desk, I could throw things, I could yell at people, I could do all that stuff. And you know what? Not a single thing is going to change with regards to the amount of sleep that I got last night. It's not going to change anything. All it's going to change is my internal feelings, right? I'm going to be a lot less comfortable throughout the day, right? And it is also going to impact my relationships, right? And so the idea then is that it is the acceptance, and to be sure, right? We're now commandeering today's podcast. I had something else I wanted to talk to you about today, but we're going to pursue this topic here because this is really, really important. Okay, so the other thing that could happen, right, is that as I go through this process of being, annoyed and angry and everything else, right? Well, what's going to come from that is nothing but the negative emotions, right? And that's where the anger is going to come from. I don't know if I said that already. Again, I'm very, very tired. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself here. But the point is, right, that as I hold in my awareness the feeling that I have, I can allow that to guide me, right? But it's important, though, that we do this from a place of non-judging and self-compassionate awareness, right? Like, that's the only way it works. It doesn't work if I'm sitting here saying, gosh, Art, you are so dumb for staying up so late. What's wrong with you? Why did you do that? You just ruined everything, right? From that place, I am not going to discover anything, right? I am not going to learn anything. I'm not going to grow through anything. All I'm going to do then is get into the stress, survival mode, right? And I'm going to just try to get through the day, right? And that's unfortunately how I lived for many, many years, is just getting through the day, right? Just getting through it. But the reality is that every day matters. Today matters, and I'm not willing to just give up on the day just because I didn't get enough sleep. Sorry, I'm just making a little note in the little black book because we need to talk more about this, right? There are so many opportunities that are happening around us all the time, right? So many opportunities to connect to each other, opportunities to learn about life, opportunities to experience things on a deep and beneficial level, right? Like, these are the things that are happening all the time, everywhere around us. But if we're just like head down trying to get through it, well, then all of those potentials just fade away and they never come back. I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I mean, you don't know, right? Because you don't know what you missed, right? You literally don't know what you missed. And so the idea then is not to, the idea is not to necessarily celebrate, that I'm having such a hard day today, right? But it's to just accept it, right? Accept what is and let go of what you believe should be. And honestly, folks, that's the recipe to all of it. Like, seriously, that is everything. And truly, if, I mean, as a mindfulness coach, I literally could just say that to everyone, right? That in any given moment, right, you just accept what is and let go of what you believe should be. All right. But now the reason why I can't just say that to people and just change everybody's lives with just that one simple comment or one simple statement is that it requires that awareness, right? It requires for us to be able to sit and see it, or stand and see. You don't have to sit, but to be able to see what is happening internally. And now that doesn't mean like, okay, everybody, we all know like, oh, I didn't get to sleep, on time last night, so I'm tired today, right? Like that's not the awareness that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the awareness of the feeling, right? Of what it feels like to be in that place, right? And where does that feel in my body? What do I feel in my body as I'm experiencing this sense of exhaustion, right? And just praying for 8:15 to come when I'm done with the day and just, be able to just put my sweatpants on and like get into bed and hope to go to sleep at like 9 o'clock, Right? It requires for us to feel it. It requires for us to be aware of what's happening. Right? Because the thing is, you could say in the morning, like, oh man, this is going to be a tough day today because I didn't get enough sleep last night. And that's great. But at 10:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, when you're in that tedious conversation with somebody, do you remember that you didn't get enough sleep? Probably not. Probably not. It's not something you're going to cognitively just remember. That's why it has to be a feeling thing. It has to be a sensation thing that we're talking about, right? It's not, because the problem is that just like I said, that anger, right? Anger takes over and it creates a difference in the way that you perceive things and the way that you perceive things coming in and going out. Right? And anger is not the only emotion that does that to us, right? Stress alone does that to us, right? And that's something else that I need to recognize, that my body is under stress today, right? It is, just by the natural and just by the absolute neutral and non, neither good nor bad reality that my body just hasn't slept enough. Right? In fact, do you know that sleep impacts our bodies so much that if you were to go one night without sleeping, right? Something we all used to do when we were young, right? Like we go a couple nights even sometimes, right? Or maybe 3 or 4 nights a week, right? If you went one night without sleep and went to the doctor's office in the morning and had your blood drawn and tested, they would see that the blood sugar levels in your body are so high, they would say that you're pre-diabetic. And that's just one medical thing that happens when we don't sleep. So literally, it's way beyond just saying like, oh, it's just not ideal because I didn't get enough sleep tonight. Oh, well, it's understanding that, what? My entire body is going to be experiencing stress because of the fact that I didn't sleep, right? And so again, I go back to that meeting that you're having at 11 o'clock in the morning, after you on your way into work, having an extra big coffee, you're saying, oh man, it's going to be a hard day today because I didn't get enough sleep last night, right? Well, a few hours later, when you're in the middle of a conversation that's challenging and difficult, the stress that your body's dealing with is actually going to inhibit your cognitive functioning. It's going to completely change the physiological, mechanism of your body, and you're not going to remember at that point. And in fact, one of the parts of your brain that is significantly and adversely affected by stress is the part of your brain that's responsible for memory. So literally, you're not going to remember it. I promise you, you're not going to remember it, right? I'm not guessing. I'm telling you. You're not going to remember it. And so that's why, just like any other time, when we're tired, when we're struggling, when we're not feeling well, if we're a little sick, if we're a little, allergic or whatever it is that's happening, right? It's about the awareness, the moment-to-moment unfolding experience. Right? Like, that's the important thing. And again, that's a very familiar theme, right? We talk about that all the time, that life is a moment-to-moment unfolding experience. And it's as important to recognize when we're struggling and having a hard time because we didn't sleep or we're sick or we're hungover or we're hungry or what have you, right? It's as important to notice then or to recognize then as it is at any other point in our lives, no matter what's going on, right? That the truth remains that it is a moment-by-moment experience. And as we experience our life moment by moment, it's important to be in our bodies in each one of those moments, right? Or in the present moment, right? Because the more I am in touch with my body, the more I can sense that, you know what, I'm starting to get a bit of a headache. I'm starting to feel a little, I've reached the point where this is not going to work anymore. Right? It's going to start working against me, So now I just gotta, make sure I eat, make sure I drink lots of water, and make sure I check in with myself a lot today, and make sure, like, hey, check yourself, Art. Check yourself, because you're in that place today where it's very likely that you're gonna snap at somebody. You're going to say something. You're going to do something that isn't beneficial to you or to anybody around you. And the chances of you rupturing a relationship today are very, very high, right? So just like if you were, going out to play golf, right? If there was a thunderstorm lightning warning in the area, right? You would keep a little eye out, right? You'd notice, okay, yeah, those clouds look like they're getting kind of scary looking. Let's check in with the clubhouse and see what their radar says. And I haven't heard any sirens go off yet, but it sounds like they might be coming, and this is just one example, of course, right? So maybe, if you're, if you're driving in inclement weather, right? So if you're driving when the roads are very slick and wet, right? You're going to make adjustments. Right? You're going to be very, very cautious. You're going to be aware of the wet road. You're going to be aware of the danger that's involved with driving on a wet road. So today I am aware of the danger of walking around in this body today. Right? And I'm going to be very quick to let things go. I'm going to be very quick to hold my tongue, right? Knowing that I'm going to be probably, and knowing myself, and this comes after, repeatedly practicing this self-awareness, right? Like, I understand my own tendencies now, right? And I understand that I am likely to have this feeling like I gotta set somebody straight. I found myself just doing that on Twitter a few minutes ago while I was finishing my lunch. After I'd done with my lunch, I just checked because I got a notification. I just checked, and I started typing out like an argument with this person who I don't even know on Twitter. And I'm like, and I stopped and I said, Art, you see, this is what we're talking about, right? You just gotta let it go. Just remind yourself that, today's not the day. And probably whatever you're going to say to this person on Twitter, you're going to regret it. And it's not going to end well. So just put the phone down. See if you can sneak a little more caffeine in. And record your podcast for the people who need you. And show up. Show up. Show up honestly and authentically, which is what I'm doing. I don't know if choosing this bright yellow shirt today was somehow going to try to fool myself or something, but that's what I'm doing. I'm showing up authentically. And I hope you appreciate that. And I hope you really enjoyed this podcast. I enjoyed making it for you, even though it's uncomfortable and even though I'm not really feeling it. And yeah, I would have rather just, go take a nap. But this is important. I've made an obligation to you. And I know there's people out here who are listening to me and watching me. And I know, based on some of the comments that I've gotten from you all, that some of these podcasts really help, really make a difference to you. And so, like Bob Marley said, right? I'll leave you with this because it's been 30 minutes and I got to go. But Bob Marley, when he was, I don't remember how old he was, but he was already pretty famous and stuff. But it was towards the later part of his career that was cut short, obviously. But one point he was robbed and shot in the gut, or I think it was the gut. No, maybe it's a leg. But anyway, he was shot with a gun and a bullet, you know? And so he had a concert booked for like the next day, maybe 2 days later, but like very soon after, and should not have played the concert, right? Like his doctor probably argued with him, and you know, he probably should not have gotten on that stage, right? But he did. He got on that stage with a gunshot wound, you know, that had been cared for at the hospital, of course, but certainly not in any condition to be, you know, performing for 2 hours in front of, you know, thousands of people. And a reporter after the concert asked him about it. He said, the reporter said, you know, why didn't you just postpone the concert and give everybody a rain check on their tickets and just do it when you feel better? And you know what Bob's response was? He said, the people trying to make this world a worse place don't take days off. So how can I? All right, y'all. I hope you appreciate that. I'll be back again tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. And get some sleep tonight, like me.